Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1577A, and today's date is May 25th, 2018, and the title of the episode is The Transition Away from the Dollar Has Just Become Easier. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, in the past, we've been talking about how the Federal Reserve, the central bankers, how they demonize gold, silver, the precious metals market, and how they demonize cryptocurrency. And many people believe that, the cryptocurrency that is put out there by the central banking system or the deep state to trick us into going into that system. And they think, well, if we go into that system, they'll have full control over it. Well, this is a decentralized system, and the only way they can actually control it is to force governments into creating laws for us to actually purchase a coin that the central bank creates. And if they can do that, yes, they will control the entire system. Just like the central bank came in, created the Federal Reserve note, we were on the gold standard and took us off the gold standard, and they took control of the entire system once we're off the gold standard because there was no checks and balances. The same thing with the crypto market. If the people make a move, and this is a chance that we all have, if the people stick together and make a move and say, listen, we have this system, we don't need the central bank. We don't need them to make laws. We don't need them at all. The central bank disappears. And this is the fork in the road right now. This is the time where the people around the world are going to have to make a decision. And we see that the Federal Reserve and other central banks, like IMF, the BIZ, ECB, they're all out there demonizing cryptocurrency. And they're going to continue to do this just like they did precious metals. And what they're also going to do is they're going to try to make it look volatile, just like with precious metals. It's a barbarous, relic. You don't really need it. There's no reason to have it. Same thing with cryptocurrency. They like to control things centrally. And we see already with the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco, they released a report on May 18th, where they discussed the volatility of the Bitcoin price and how Bitcoin should be classified, whether it's a currency, security, or commodity. And they're saying that it really has no store of value, not like the dollar, because the dollar is backed up by governments. Well, that's because you bribe them and they pass laws, and the government says, yeah, okay, the Federal Reserve note is a currency, and the government backs it. If the government says, hey, we no longer back the Federal Reserve note, we back another cryptocurrency, guess what? I guess then it has a store value. But it depends on how you look at this, because if the people say it has a store of value, it has a store of value. But what the central banker is trying to do here, this is out of the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco, is they're trying to tell the people what they think Bitcoin is worth. Now, right now, Bitcoin has been bobbing up and down, and we see through Mt. Gox, they've been dumping a huge amount of Bitcoin, selling it off, and every time they've done this, the price has dropped down. And the central bank is out there. They're telling us that they believe that Bitcoin should roughly have the price of $1,800 per coin, which is actually very close to where gold is. Very interestingly, yes, it's about $500 off, but it's around that range. Isn't that very interesting how this is what they believe the price is, and what they want to do is they want to control it and make everyone think that this is the real value of Bitcoin. And by doing this, people are going to go, oh, maybe I shouldn't hold it anymore. Maybe it's going to go down to that price because the central bank is coming out and telling everyone that this is what it's worth. But the people decide what it's worth. If people decide that, hey, no, it's not worth $1,800, I'm going to hold on to it, more people purchase it and hold on to it, it's worth a lot more. But they're trying to control the market. The central banker went on to say, although Bitcoins do not possess any real intrinsic value, from a commodity valuation perspective, we can estimate a hypothetical value based on its production costs. Recent estimates regarding the energy involved in mining a single Bitcoin by professional energy-efficient mining rigs put it at about $1,800 when mined in China, where 80% of the currently mined Bitcoins originate. And once again, this is what the central bankers like to do because they only want everyone using their currency. Now, they might push governments, and this is a huge possibility. I mean, they did it with the dollar, where they pushed governments into recognizing and installing a central bank, recognizing their note, and telling everyone that this is the note that you'll be using. They can do the same thing here. They can force governments, which I believe they're trying to do, into using a certain coin. Now, most likely it will be a central banker coin. And if all the governments cooperate and say these are the this is the coin that you have to use, the central bankers win. But if we the people say no, we're going to be using this coin instead, and if businesses say we'll accept any coin, and remember we have the atomic swaps, then the central bankers lose. So we're at a point in time where people have to make a decision of which way we're going to go. And I think we should go with let's get rid of the central banks. There's no reason for them. They're private institutions. They're not transparent. We can't audit them. The blockchain is a truth machine. You can see all the transactions. You can see what is going on. No, it doesn't give your name and your address and all that stuff. But you can see where everything is flowing. Not like today in a banking institution or with the central bank. You have no idea where all of this is going. Even if it's backed by gold, you still don't have any idea. Why? Because they're not transparent. So we see at this point in time, the central bankers are doing whatever they possibly can to push us in a certain direction. And if you want to learn more about cryptocurrencies and what they're all about and how to use an online wallet, offline wallet, you can go to X22Report It will bring you to a website and you can learn about it in the school. There's explanations all over the website to tell you about it. Or you can also join up to the trading room where you can watch Crypto Z and Crypto Cowboy trade all different coins. And basically, it's an entertainment room where you're watching them. They do the research, they do all the work, and you can follow along with what they're doing. So all you need to do is type in X22ReportSchool.com, or at the bottom of the YouTube videos, you'll see the link there, or on the X22Report.com site. The link is also on the website. You can just click on that. It'll bring you over to the site. Now let's move on to the economy. And what we're seeing right now is that the UMich, which basically lets us know what people are thinking, do they have confidence in the system? Well, that's been declining quite a bit. And if we look at consumers that are anticipating income gains, well, it looks like they're not really anticipating income gains, and that is declining. We also see the sentiment tumbled most for the wealthiest Americans. We also see that people are losing confidence in the rising stock market, and it has been dropping for the last month or two, and people are looking at this saying, how can this be? And we need to remember one thing here, is that all the stats that are thrown at us from the Fed, from the government, and everywhere else, it's the same calculations they've been using since the financial crisis. Yes, they modified them a little bit to make them look better, to boost them up a little bit, just like they went with GDP. They went all the way back to the Great Depression, and they added in research and development and other things and recalculated everything all the way up to the present time to make it look a lot better. They recalculated unemployment and how they figured that out to make everything look better. And the real economy with everyday people, they realize that, hey, I can't find that high-paying job. I got laid off here. I have 2 part-time jobs. What are they talking about? The people that are trying to purchase houses now are realizing that interest rates are going up, prices are way too high, and the salary has not kept up with inflation on homes, inflation on college tuition, inflation on automobiles, and we see right now that people are realizing that things are not going well at all. And we know that we are headed towards a transition because with every fiat system, the fiat currency always breaks down. They create too much debt, and I'm talking about the central bankers, and their system ends after 40, 45 years, and they need to restart it. And what's been happening, and this has been happening for quite a while, they've been moving everything away from the United States, away from the dollar, and this has been over time. And we need to remember that China just introduced the petro yuan, and this is only the beginning. We also have to remember they have the gold exchange, the other exchanges, they have the payment system, and they also purchased the LME, the London Metals Exchange. And when Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing bought the London Metals Exchange in 2012, all the speculation was about the effects on gold trading. The primary reason for buying the LME was to obtain its warehouses and ensure a free flow of metals to points in the East. What it also did was give them control over what type and kind of futures contracts could be traded on their exchanges. No longer would the West control this very important part of the precious metals and industrial metal supply chain. Now we're seeing the next evolution of power of owning the exchange. After successfully launching a yuan-denominated gold futures contract last year, the LME is now preparing to issue a range of yuan-denominated metals futures. So what does this all mean? Well, the Chinese knew exactly what they were doing. They knew that they were going to need this. And if you notice, they're taking all the different parts and buying them up and really not changing anything until they needed to change it. And everyone got very comfortable in 2012 saying, hey, look, nothing's being changed. Everything is great. But they purchased it for a reason. They were smart. Taking over the LME allowed the Chinese to have gold traded in yuan. That was the beginning stage. Now they can do it with the rest of the metals. So why is this announcement by the LME such a big event? Well, let's look at this for a second. It removes yet another important source of the dollar demand from the global financial market. It creates more demand for the yuan, which will feed China's need to expand its money supply if it's to liquefy its trade. It helps countries circumvent sanctions by removing its need to hedge in dollars for trade with China. It provides Europe and Russia a new way to avoid tariffs and resist sanctions. It insulates emerging markets from a potential spike in the US dollar, as China will allow the yuan to fall versus the dollar while keeping its overall real effective exchange rate relatively stable. This leads to one conclusion. This is a massive assistance to emerging market companies with big dollar denominated liabilities. And what this is going to do, it's going to shake up the world. And this was all done on purpose. And it was done over a period of time. They just didn't do it yesterday. They purchased it in 2012. It took them 6 years to get to this point. And if you look at it and you go back in time, you can see everything has been moved. Now, the central bankers, most likely they're going to want to control all of this. They want to have a hand in this. Now, they're not going to come out and say, okay, we have full control, we're going to create currency like crazy. No, they're going to make it look like it's a stabilized system in the beginning, just like they did in the U.S. It will be gold-backed or gold confidence supporting whatever currency it is. Maybe at the low level, people using cryptocurrencies, and the cryptocurrencies, if the central bankers have their way, it will be controlled by them. If the people have their way, this will not be a central bank system, and cryptocurrencies will not be controlled by central banks. And this is the main point here, is that the people of the world need to make a decision. We have a chance right now to break away. Now, what's very interesting is that the new Federal Reserve Bank chairman, this is Jerome Powell, on Friday issued a warning to Trump not to interfere with interest rate policy. Now, this is very interesting because he was talking about what happened with Nixon in the lead up to the 1972 presidential election to keep interest rates very low. And he's saying, don't do this, don't get involved. The Federal Reserve is independent and government shouldn't be involved. which is very interesting. So why in the world right now is he putting out this warning? Why is he doing it now? Was there a move, or did he learn of a move where maybe they're coming after the Federal Reserve to audit the Federal Reserve? Are they looking to remove the Federal Reserve? Because you have to remember, and I've said this many, many times before, Andrew Jackson is hanging on the wall of Trump's office, and he is the president that got rid of the central banks. He campaigned on it, and I believe this is the direction we are headed, and we can see already there's a warning out there not to mess with the Federal Reserve. And he was very clear in his message where he said that the Federal Reserve is independent and government shouldn't dictate anything to the Federal Reserve. So you can see that we are headed towards a transition. China will be moving away from the dollar. Russia will be moving away from the dollar. The emerging markets will be moving away from the dollar. And what is happening right now, they're making it easier and easier to move away from the dollar. So get prepared, get ready, because that time is getting closer and closer. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.